Good morning. Let's get started. So today we'll see Angular material. So far we have been using the Bootstrap for styling our application. Alternatively, we can use Angular material, which is built for Angular specifically. You cannot use that library with any other framework. While Bootstrap is a generic framework, you can use it with any other technologies such as React or Ember or whatever it is. But as far as Angular material is concerned, it is only built for Angular. So let's go to Angular material website and go through the documentation because we don't need to remember the steps. Just this website is going to guide us how to get started. So it is nothing but a combination of components. We will have some components and directives, which helps us design our application. So this is the installation step. Just copy this and paste it here somewhere. So we need Angular Component Development Kit and Material. These are the two libraries that we need to include. And then we need animation. There's step 2, animation module. This module is already installed by Angular CLI. So when you go to package.json file, you can check that out. Here it is. It's already installed. And we need to include that module inside our root module, which is browser animations module. So let's copy this and paste it in our app module. Here, I'm going to paste whatever I've copied, and then I'm going to add an import statement here. Okay, that's step 2. And the step 3 is importing the components and getting started. So we have button module, we have checkbox module. Every component has its own module. And if we want to use button, we need to import that. So instead of having one huge monolithic module, the material team, they have decided it into bunch of separate modules because all the button related stuff goes inside button module. This is actually cool. The reason is if you're not using a checkbox in your application, you don't need to import it. So that actually eventually reduces your bundle size. So it's a cool thing. Even when you are building your enterprise level application, you should probably think about this. Like how well can you organize your files into modules? That makes a difference. And then we need a theme rather than just consuming it. Let's consume it first. So it's still being installed. Let it install. So whatever I want to consume, I need to import a module. So I'm going to say import mat stands for material button module. So I want to include material button in my application. I'll say material and I'm going to import this here. Okay, so contact page looks clean. So here I want to show you all the demos of the components. So let's go to contact component and try to add this button module or button component. So here I'm going to say add, probably will say mat button. Let's try this way. I don't exactly remember the name of the directive, but that's okay. We have documentation with us. We can check that out if it is not correct. Come back. And this is going to be Here it is. So this doesn't really look great. Well, look, let me do one thing. Go to components and make sure whatever I've consumed, the way I've consumed is correct. So in your components, click somewhere on buttons. We have all the but here stuff. Just click on this button. So this is the button, and if you see the source, this is how. So the way I've consumed is wrong. Mat-button is the name of the directive. So this is actually a directive, attribute directive. We have a component. I mean, we have an element on that. We are consuming this directive. So let's see how this looks like after that change. Okay, this looks a little bit better. Now it looks like a material button. So if you want to add some themes, you can do it. So then the fourth step is adding a theme. It's a good idea that we add a theme, something like this. So let's copy this URL. And this is a CSS file. We know where to put our CSS files. Let's go back to cli.json. That's where we put our bootstrap. And that's where I'm going to put my theme file. So this is part of node underscore modules. Okay, this is the exact location of the theme. So we have 2 or 3 themes inbuilt. They come. The indigo pink is the default one. Usually that we go with that one. But again, if you want to change it, you can change it. So the idea is this gives you some color combinations, this theme. It's just like your mobile theme. If you don't like the designs or icon styles or color, you change the theme. The same way, in future, you built a website, and after 1 year, you don't like the way the website looks. So rather than going and modifying the code, you just swap the theme. You buy a new theme or you download a free theme and you just change this theme here. That as simple as that. So let me kill this because I modified this angular CLI.json. I need to restart. So if you want this application to run on even on mobile devices with all those gestures, so you have a library. Actually, Angular Material uses excuse me, Hammer.js library for all those gestures. Pinch, I believe the pinching, tapping, all those things. But for us, it's not needed. But if you want, you can go ahead and include this one. And we have another optional step 6 to include some icons. So you need to add this link in your again same Angular CLI.json file in order to get the icon support. So meanwhile, we'll check what are the icons available. So just say material. Probably I should have somewhere here. Okay. So this is how the theme has changed this button to. The default button looks like this. It looks like a text, but when you hover on it, it looks like a button. When you click on it, you have this nice animation. All this is coming at no cost just by including your material library. So if you want the color combinations or something like that, you can go with some, I believe, a color attribute, say primary. I believe there is primary color, one color. So probably 2, 3 themes, or I mean to say color combinations here. So let's once have a look at it, all the colors, say button. So we have primary, accent, and worn. Let's go with accent. So the excuse me. It looks like a pink color, and that's what accent color is. So if you want this color to stay there, you can use matte raised button. We have matte button and matte raised button, and that's going to have the borders like this. Okay, the same way we should have another button, matte fab button. Let's let's see that one. I'm just say matte button, matte fab, something like this. So usually the an icon would be here rather than just this plus icon, plus text. But to keep things simple, I'm just going with this text. So this icon can be font awesome, this icon can be a material icon, or even a bootstrap icon. It's up to you. So usually you might have seen this in your Android mobile, this kind of icon where you put it on the right hand side in the bottom section. The similar way, you can have another button by the name Matte Mini Fab, which looks a little bit smaller than the Fab button. Fab stands for uh, floating action button. This button is actually a floating button somewhere on the right hand side of your corner. So Matte Mini Fab, here it is, like this. So these are buttons. If you want to change the color, you can definitely change it. Color equals to primary, and they should make it blue. So this primary color is giving blue, but when you change the theme, the primary may be changing. So that's why if you've seen, it's not named blue. The color value that we assign is not named as blue, rather it is named as primary color, because the themes may have their own way of saying or defining what is primary color and what is accent, like that. So if you just change the theme, everything would be changed. That's it, without even modifying the existing components. Okay, with that in place, let's go ahead and check out another module, that is checkbox. Come back and try to find out checkbox in this documentation. Must be somewhere here. Forms controls. Here it is, a checkbox, and this should be part of checkbox module, mat checkbox, and the source code is something like this. Just let me copy this and come back, go to app module. First, we should include this mat checkbox module. All are from the same library, so I can combine them. Checkbox module. Okay, come back to contact component because we have imported the module. Now it's time to just consume that component. And the default HTML file control, which is for checkbox, is really boring. But look at this one, and this is going to be very cool. Let's save this. Here it is. So you have this nice animation, and everything is coming from material design. So probably I forgot to tell you, the material design is nothing but it actually it was introduced by Google for Android. So if you have ever used Android 5.0 or above, that's the material design that you're seeing. From Lollipop onwards, the material design was introduced by Google, and that same material design principles we are using in this web application using Angular Material Library. So Angular Material Library is an implementation of Google's material design principles. Okay, with that in place, let's see what are other fields we have, such as input, the generally used. So let me copy the code. So you need to put it inside mat form field, something like this. So mat form field is a parent tag for this input tag, and we have a directory. It's a directive, mat input. Now go back to app module to add that mat input module dependency. So that's it. There is nothing actually complex about this Angular material. You just want to consume some component. You come and add a module, and then you start consuming it. The only thing, if you don't remember the syntax and the components, you can pretty much check out the documentation. This is a really, really helpful resource. You don't even need to remember the syntax and all those things. Just copy and paste it and modify accordingly. Here it is. So all this you might have seen in your Android phones. The same is shipped to browser. And the same way we have select module that is generally used, is select. So let me copy the code for this select. This should also be wrapped inside mat form field. Okay, we have mat select, and then I don't have this food value. So I'm just going to go with mat option. Subware app or whatever it is. So we haven't yet imported the module. Let's go back to app module and import that. Say mat select module and put it here. So this actually, this app module is growing in size with a lot of imports. If you want to move this material module to separate module file, and that is also okay. That is also fine. You don't need to put everything here. The only thing is you need to export the entire material module, because our components are inside app module and you're moving the material module to a separate file. Export section needs to be added. Okay, something like this. This looks better and than the default select. Okay, now let's go back and check some of the other elements such as navigation. So if we want, we can go with toolbar for navigation, something like this. So mat toolbar module, I'll import it, and then this is going to be my toolbar. So there are, this Angular material contains some are directives and some are components. So directives modify the existing elements, and components altogether they'll have their own HTML elements, or they just have their own template. So wherever necessary, they have added directives, and wherever necessary, they have added altogether new components. So I'm going to say mat toolbar module. Okay, now go back to contact component. We'll try to consume this here. Say my app, and this is going to be a header bar the same way we have created using Bootstrap. We can create using this toolbar component. Okay, where is it? Okay, I don't really see here. Let's save this again. Okay, here it is. If you want this color to be changed, you can definitely change it. Just say color primary. Here it is. This is how it changed. And if you want to add some menu, just like we have added here, you can definitely do it inside toolbar. Just going to say button, mat button, say home button. So you can have router link directive here, and you can perform navigation, everything. So whatever concepts we have discussed so far related to Angular will not change just because we are using material design. So this is just for presentation. All the concepts remain same, and no matter whether you are using Bootstrap or material. See, like this, we have this navigation. So one question that may come to your mind, what to use, Bootstrap or material? It's up to you. Again, depends on your project requirements, but you can combine both of them also, which is not very quite common. It's not very, like, people don't use it because you have everything what Bootstrap has. Probably everything what you can do with Bootstrap, you can do it with material. So there is no need to combine, but there is an option. The way we are doing now, we are combining two of them, two of the libraries, and we are consuming the components. But if you have Angular material in your project, strictly speaking, you don't need to have Bootstrap. Okay, so that's toolbar, and we'll try to see one more component here. Go back, and probably I'll see progress spinner. Okay, this is how the spinner shows up. You have many other components. It's impossible to go over all of them. I just want to put you in right direction. That's it. So this is what I want to show you. This shows a loader symbol. So let me copy the code for this. It's mat spinner. Just come back to app module. Add that module to your imports. Say mat progress spinner module is the name of the module, and I'm going to just add it here. And now go to contact component and try to consume that component. I'll say mat spinner and mat spinner. So this also has color attribute. So if you change the color, if you want to change the color attribute, definitely you can change it. If you don't like this blue, okay, I don't think it is saved properly. Here we go. So this is how we show spinners, but let me show you a real use case in our application. I'm sorry, there was a power cut. It's just it was just for 1 minute, but this jeopardized the call. So okay, let's get started. So I'm going to show you a real use case of this mat spinner. We are just consuming it, but as I said, you can change the theme of this. So if you don't like the blue color, probably I should be able to say accent, and it should turn into a separate some other color, maybe pink or something like that. Okay, looks like it is turned into pink. Now go to our products, and I'll go to my product detail component, and there is certain delay here. So it is fetching the data, and for a second or for a moment, there is a kind of it's like you see the lag. So I don't want user to notice that. Rather, I want to show him that something is going on in the background. So in that case, spinner is a great idea. Let's go ahead and try to implement that spinner, whatever we have learned so far, into this product detail component. I'll go to my product detail component here, and inside ng on init, here is where I'm making my request. So first consume that component. Don't worry about anything. Just put it here. You'll say mat spinner. I've already imported that module, so I'm free to use this component anywhere throughout this application. So that's my spinner, and it shows up. But it should show up when there is data loading, or when the data is not loaded yet. As soon as the data is loaded, I want to hide this. So it's very simple. You just say ng if not loading. If the data is not loading, you just, I'm sorry, ng if loading. If the data is loading, show it. Okay, that's my bad. I'm sorry. I wasn't sharing the screen. Okay, so Shashank, can you see now the screen? Okay. Okay, so what I was saying is this product detail component, which takes a little bit of time to load the data. Okay, though, yes, I understand. So let's go back and check that out again. So first thing, what I did, in the app.module.ts, I've included this mat progress spinner module. So this is the module that has spinner in it. Spinner is nothing but a loading symbol or a GIF icon, something like that. We used to have that GIF. So now we don't. We can have a GIF icon and show it as soon as data as soon as data load starts, and as soon as the data is loaded, we can hide it. But again, rather than doing all those things, there is somebody already has created this component for us, so we can just utilize that component. So that's what I'm going to show you. So I'll go to contact component, and here I'm consuming that. So it is mat spinner. So if I don't like this, I can change the color. I can use color accent or primary. So but anyway, this is how you consume the mat spinner. This is a component, if you notice closely, and this spinner looks like this. Go to contact. Here it is. So I can, anyhow, I'm just using this. I'm just demonstrating it. But again, the real use case comes into picture when we are making web service calls or time consuming operation. We want to notify user that something is going on and that operation is going to complete in future. And this is kind of an indefinite spinner. We don't know when the operation is going to complete. It's just we are showing the operation in progress, something like that. So I want to show the same thing in my product detail component because there is certain delay here. So if you come back from products, see, it's taking a moment. So in that moment, maybe sometimes it's a moment, sometimes it's a second, depending on your web server's response. So in that case, irrespective of the time that it takes to load, I want to show a spinner as long as the data is being loaded. So that's where the spinner comes into picture, I'll go to my product detail component, and I'm consuming that spinner first. Don't worry about anything, just consume it in the product detail component. Once you consume it, this is how it's going to look. Here is the spinner and it is showing up. But I don't want this. I want the spinner to show up when the data is loaded or when the web service is being called. So for that, I'm going to say ngIf show this symbol when data is loading. So I'm having a property loading on my product, and that is going to be false initially. And once the data loading is started, so I'm going to set this to true. Once that response is come, I should make it false. Anyway, we'll go step by step. First, make it true. So the data load starts and the spinner should show up. So the spinner is showing up, data is loaded, but still I'm showing that spinner. Now, the easiest thing what you can do is you hide this spinner here. So in your response, once everything is done, you say this dot loading is false, and this makes the spinner go away from the DOM. So for a moment that should flash, the spinner should flash and then should go away like that. So let me try one more time here. So there is not a lot of delay, so it may be a little hard to see, but it's there. Here it is, like that. So another thing is there is some kind of like ugliness in this UI. If you notice here, I'll go to products and click on this. This invalid template which is not loaded properly or incomplete template you can say is still being shown. I don't want that. I want spinner to show or the data to show, not both. So that's with a little bit of again smartness we can fix that. You just say ngIf without even having another variable, you'll say not loading. So this is really cool. You're saying if data is loading, show it. If not loading, show this. That's it. So it's like you're making them mutually exclusive with this one property. You don't need to have another one. It's like loaded or something like this. Not two of the properties are not needed. Save this. So once the call is successful, I'm making it false. And once this is false, this div would take over or show up like this. So go to products. See, even the specs and reviews, you can definitely wrap them inside one div. And you can use this ng if on this parent, even that reviews and specs, that tab will also not show like this. Go to products and try one more time. So that's how you toggle the view and you show up the spinner. Okay, so that if you want to do it, and there are tricks for that. So if you want to show it in the middle of the screen, definitely you can add some CSS styles for this, say margin and all those things, wrap it inside a div. And that's one thing. And second thing, if you want to blur the screen, usually what the web developers follow is they'll have a parent div, and probably this is the trick that is coming for ages. Here you will have a div something like parent, or most of the people call it loading wrapper or loader wrapper, something like this. And inside that they'll have this loading. Inside this you will have your mat spinner, something like this. So now what you want to do it with this, you have these two classes. You can add styles to it and you can do whatever you want. So this loading wrapper usually is going to take width of 100%, height of 100%. Like you want to show it throughout the screen. And that doesn't actually solve the problem. You have to make it position absolute because relative position will take 100% of parent, not of the screen. So when you make it absolute, it's going to take the 100% of the screen, which means the entire web page. And then inside loading, you have a loading class also. Here you're going to say margin, or if you want to show middle of the screen, probably you'll say top 40%. So it takes 40% of the screen height and show there. And you can say left, probably 45% or 50%, whatever makes sense, because this itself has some width. So I'm just going with 45%, not saying 50%. So this should show it exactly middle of the screen. And now if you want to blur this, you can. You can say probably the background color, transparent or something like that. Background color, usually we go with white, or uh, I believe it is white and some opacity, probably 5.5, like this. So you will have your background color white and the opacity is zero point 0.5, which means kind of blurred. So this loading wrapper is a parent div which is completely occupying your screen and which has white color, which has opacity of zero point 0.5, which means a kind of a blur look that you get. So I'm going to give these classes to you in the chat window. Try this out because this is how usually the developers are following for a long, long time. If you want to do the same thing, and material is not going to be any different for that. Again, it's hard to get CSS right for the first time. You have to give it a shot by increasing values or decreasing or trying out different properties. But anyway, let me get rid of this. So we are using Angular material doesn't mean that we cannot use CSS. You can have your own custom styles, and that is absolutely fine. Even when you're using Bootstrap, you can have your own custom styles and you can use it. As our application is simple, so we are not actually going for custom styles. These Bootstrap styles are enough for us. But usually every application will have its own custom styles. So I think that's about the material, and we have few more minutes, but actually I'm done with it. So we'll wrap it up unless you have any questions. We'll meet tomorrow for the last session and we'll see how we can set up Angular. Okay, so how to deploy it on cloud? It's so one deployment we have seen is the Nginx, and the same way you can deploy it using Docker. So you can deploy it on Docker. You have image for Nginx, and okay, that let's see how we can deploy it on cloud. So for cloud deployment, what you're going to do is let's first build it. Let's build it, and I'll go to my git ignore and try to remove this dist because this is the folder that would be deployed. So I'll remove it from the git ignore file because I want to push these changes to my repository. It's one thing. And the second thing, I'll go to my Heroku app and try to create an app there. So say new, create new app. I don't think this is available. It's Angular 5 app. It's not available either. Okay. Luckily, this is available. I'll choose Europe and GitHub. I'll choose. So now it's not as straightforward as we deployed the app, because Express app itself is a server. Express.js itself has a server, but this doesn't have a server. So we need a server in order to deploy this app. So what server you want to choose? It's again, you have bunch of options. As once I showed you Nginx, you can choose IAS, you can choose Tomcat, you can choose anything to serve this static content. So if you have a cloud deployment for IAS, you can. You have Azure, you have AWS, or you can use Tomcat, whatever it is. So I'm going to show you with a simple server which should not be used in production, that is HTTP server. There is a npm package which is very lightweight package. Just for demonstration, I'm showing you. Instead of HTTP server, you can use IAS, Tomcat, or Nginx, whatever it is. So for that, we need to install this. So I'm going to install this. Say npm install HTTP server. It's a simple package, and this package, I'll go to my package.json file and say scripts. Where are scripts? Here we have start. So modify the start command to start the HTTP server and serve it from the dist. I believe this should work. If not, we'll see. So I'm saying, okay, start my server and so start serving files from dist. And remember, dist has everything, whatever it takes to again browse that application. You don't need any source code. Dist has everything. I'll say reveal in Explorer for a moment. I'll say HTTP server. It is already installed globally. So I'm going to say dist. If this works, we can easily go ahead and deploy it. Okay, say it is serving from dist folder, and now it is running on localhost 4000. Come back, say localhost 4000. What happened? F12. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. So let's stop this. So I'm going to say HTTP server from dist. I'll say -p 5000. -p is for port. I want to run it on a different port. Localhost 5000. Here is our Angular app. If everything goes good, we should see our pages. Certainly we do. And now the same thing, that's what I'm exactly saying npm start. I'm saying my Heroku that start this server. If you're deploying it on IAS, you don't need to do this extra step. It would automatically be, uh, the server would definitely automatically be running. You don't need to worry about anything. This is just for demonstration. Showing you. Now everything is done. Now let's go ahead and push our changes. This dist is being also pushed. So I'm say production ready or deployment ready, whatever it is. And make sure this command is working. So you'll say npm start, and this should work. This should be working. Let me kill this. So I'm doing a lot of things probably, but again, this is all not needed when you're deploying a real application. I don't have the subscription for that IAS and all those things, so that's why I'm showing you this way. But it's no different for other servers, except this extra step is not needed. So let's push these changes, and you can do the same thing, this CI and CD setup using Heroku or some other tools. If you have Bamboo or Jenkins, you can even set up there also. You can run the unit test first even before deployment, and then package your application and then deploy it if all the unit tests are passing. Even the UI testing. Once the deployment is done, you can run the end-to-end test that we have written. So all these things come as a pipeline or build. Okay, so this is driving crazy. Again, there was a power cut. Sorry about that. Let's finish this. So I'm not sure where there was a disconnect, but anyway, let me just summarize things. So far, I haven't done anything other than just installing this HTTP server package, which helps us to serve the application. This is just like your IAS Tomcat, but this is just for playing around, not for production level applications. So that's the first thing I did. And the second thing I said, once the deployment is ready, start serving the files from dist folder, because that's where our output is. That's the second thing. And I'm pushing these changes to GitHub repository. I've removed the dist folder from gitignore because I need dist folder to be deployed. So I'm pushing it to GitHub repository. So once this push is successful, I can go and set up my pipeline in Heroku. Okay, so the deployment is successful. I mean to say push is successful. We have created an app in Heroku and set up this pipeline. I believe the name of the package or name of the repository is angular.ui. Search for it. Looks like this one. Connect. And I'm going to say enable automatic deployments. Deploy the branch. If you don't want this CI and CD setup, you can just ignore. You can just disable the automatic deployments. But here, now it is installing node modules. We haven't pushed node modules, but it goes and reads the package.json and installs the module. And inside that module, we have our HTTP server package also available. And once that is done, it's going to start the server by calling npm start. So there are a lot of dependencies, and this may take a while. You can go to activity and check this. It says download complete, binary is fine. And remember, we don't have Angular CLI here. It's not going to download Angular CLI. Okay, it says launching, released, and this is the address of our application. If everything goes good, you should have a running application. Do we have one? There could be some errors. Go to console. I don't see any errors here. Or maybe my internet is too slow. I'm running on mobile internet, so okay, looks like it's we got it here. Here it is. So this is deployed there, and it is being served via this HTTP npm package. Let me warn you again, that should not be used in production at any cost, because that cannot handle load. That is just for playing around with, or in development environment, or in your local environment. This will work for one or two users, but this should guide us. I mean, the way how can we deploy the application like that. So okay, so that tells us that that's the second way that we have seen how to deploy the application. Nginx is always the best one as far as front-end frameworks are concerned, be it your React app or Angular app. Nginx should be preferred. But again, there is no harm in deploying on Tomcat or any other Apache or IAS server. Any other questions? So there were a lot of hiccups today. I mean, I don't know how the recording is going to turn out, but we'll meet tomorrow, same time, and thanks. Thanks, Shashank. I'll talk to you tomorrow then.